y'all. I know, little different. Uh, I don't expect a huge crowd here today. This is kind of I say it's spur of the moment. I've been thinking about it for the past several weeks, I guess, but finally decided to go ahead and pull the trigger and try it today. Um, for those who are basically follow me for the CNC stuff, this is going to be a little El Differente. Um, Kind of a free form, stream of consciousness type of a thing. And it's not going to be any kind of organized Q&A or anything like that. I'm just going to be working on an older spinning wheel, and like a dummy, I don't have any pictures of it. I was going to bring a picture out and put it on this computer. Again, like a dummy, I didn't do it. So I don't have any photos of the wheel to show you, but it's pretty much, oh, yes, I do have a photo. Um, Let me bring this over here and I'll share it. And this is how we got the spinning wheel. Yeah, we got it in parts. Oh boy, probably 5, 6 years ago. And there's a little bit of a backstory on it. Um, I got into fixing and cleaning up spinning wheels, and just kind of by chance. And I got kind of known for doing this. And there's an owner of a shop up in Eugene, Oregon, which is about 2, 3 hours north of us. Probably one of the most well known in the state, Eugene Textile Center. And the owner's Susie. They display at an event called the Black Sheep Gathering. And it was known that I work on spinning wheels. And I walked in the door for the Black Sheep Gathering this one year. And Susie saw me and made a beeline towards me. And she's like, puts her arm around me and, Mark, have I got a wheel for you? And I just kind of looked at her and said, how much? She said, we'll put it in the car for you. I said, that much? She said, yes. So I said, okay, I'll go take a look at it. And we didn't know what we had. We didn't know what this was. All we saw was parts. So we named it the mystery wheel in a box because it came in a box and we didn't know a thing about it. Well, after doing quite a bit of research on it, we found out that this is a Brittany style spinning wheel made in France, and or at least the French style. And we can tell that because of, well, there's a few telltale things here. The width of the wheel. Brittany wheels are known for being very wide, having a very wide rim, where most European wheels don't have that heavy of a rim. And this drive wheel is its sole purpose in life is to turn this flyer right here. And with this heavy wheel, they didn't have to treadle as hard. Once you get it going, it will, this heavier wheel will keep this flyer spinning a lot easier. Another telltale sign is the Gothic features. Like this is a tensioning knob. This threaded end right here screws into this through the deck. This part fits down in here, and this handle screws into it through the deck and moves it forward and backward to tighten or loosen the drive belt, which is basically nothing more than a piece of string. But this Gothic treatment here is also indicative of a Brittany wheel, and the same thing over here. And in the turnings, it just screams France. One of the other unique things, we also knew that this was a flax wheel. Another unique thing about it is on the crank here, there's a connecting rod that attaches to this and gets tied to this end of the treadle. And on this crank, you can't see it in this picture, but on the other side of this crank, there is a small handle. That is not normal. The handle will face you as you're sitting at this spinning wheel. That's not normal. That's indicative of a Brittany style spinning wheel. The reason we could tell it was a flax wheel is because of this little compartment right here. It's got a little finial on it, and this is hinged. And you lift up this compartment, and there's a spot for a little zinc tray. And that zinc tray would have water in it. As the spinner is spinning flax, they'll wet their fingers, and there are materials, natural materials within flax, which is a plant, um, that will kind of help glue the pieces of flax together as you're spinning it. And then after the cloth is woven, it is washed out and what have you. Flax is used to make linen. So this was a flax wheel. It could be used on wool or anything else, but it was predominantly a flax wheel. That's what it was made for. So all these parts came to us in a box, and we discovered, let me go ahead and take that out of here. And we discovered that one of the reason the parts were in a box was because, and of course now I can't get to them. Here we go. Was because two of the legs were broken. So that's why it was just kind of shoved in a box and not set up to for display. So she was like, boy, have I got a wheel for you. Yeah. Well, I happen to know a gentleman by the name of Dan Haryu back in Massachusetts, who runs a tidy little business back there called the Country Bed Shop. And Dan is an absolute artist with wood. I mean, if you're talking about turning, hand carving, anything, the guy can do it. He's just dynamite. And I think I put a link. If I didn't put a link in the description of this live stream, I will afterwards. But he doesn't do a lot on YouTube. There are a couple of videos, but not much. But it's called the Country Bed Shop. He's back in Massachusetts. And I asked him if, number one, if he could identify the wood. Number two, could he copy the legs? Could he turn me two new legs? Because I'm not a turner. And he was nice enough to do it. Okay, Steve, moderator extraordinaire, has just linked the Country Bed Shop in the chat here. And I'll put it in the description when we get done. He made a new pair of legs, and he identified the wood as chestnut. And at first, we thought it was American chestnut. We weren't really sure what type of wheel we had until we started doing a lot of investigation. Well, that is now changed. We don't think it's American chestnut. It's showing more signs of European chestnut. So we think it is from France. Uh, Dan put it at somewhere in the early 1800s, possibly late 1700s. The fact that we've now decided and discovered that it's a Brittany style wheel, that kind of fits in with the style. So this thing was more than likely built possibly late 1700s, but more likely from about 1800 to about 1840, 1850, somewhere in there. So it's a real old spinning wheel. It's, damaged, it's been dinged around, it's been beat up, but it's still too nice to be thrown away. So, us having a weak spot for old spinning equipment, I'm going to try to bring it back. I hope to have it spinning by the end of this year. So now it's never going to be a perfect spinner. It's probably going to be a more of a display piece than anything else. But what the heck, yeah, it's a refurbishing project. A lot of these things that we got them not so much to put them back into production and daily use, but to conserve them, because this is history, and every piece of history that goes to the landfill is history lost. There are no identifying markings on this, so we have no idea who made it. We have no exact idea when they made it. It's just the style and the craftsmanship kind of dates it back, way back that far, because none of this was machine made. It was all handmade. We're talking, simple machines like spring lathes, foot treadle lathes, and what have you. But all the metal parts were hand forged, and you can tell they were not machine made at all. Nothing is standardized. It's not like they popped down to Home Depot and got some quarter 20 bolts, because that just didn't exist. That didn't happen. Everything was put together with wooden pegs and glued with hide glue. A lot of these parts are friction fit, and they have no glue in them at all. So other parts do have hide glue, and that's making me go back and look at a lot of other things and looking at other materials. So what I'm doing today, I just thought I'd come live and see, um, does did anybody want to hang out and BS and kind of chit chat around, um, Brooke says, like the crap I make, nothing standardized. Absolutely. I mean, this was pre-standardization. They didn't care. They knew about how high the thing should be, and that was it, so yeah, Mark and Linda's Cloth Museum. Yeah, well, one of the projects I plan on making, a sign for Linda, and you see all the green foam I got back there. One of the things I'm going to experiment with is a sign that I've had in the plans for a long time to go up behind Linda's loom that say, welcome to, yeah, exactly. Welcome to the Lindsay Sanctuary for Orphaned Looms and Spinning Wheels. Yeah, that's what we are, you know. And when we're gone, who knows what's going to happen to them? Uh, all we know is we kept them out of the landfill for a while, and that's good enough for me. They may never do what they're supposed to do, but you know. Okay, John says enjoying the info. Will run in and out painting a Corvette top. Yeah, that's cool. John Thompson, one of my main channel members. The guy is nonstop. I don't know how he has the energy. He got himself now I can't remember if it's a 58 or 59 Corvette. I think it's a 58. 58 Corvette, and he's repainting the hardtop on it. And it already looks cool. But what can you say? The guy's a machine. I don't know how he does everything. He may be your only competition, Steve. He may be. So, I know this is kind of disjointed and it's kind of a stream of consciousness thing, but what the heck? This is one of the legs that Dan turned for us. I've got two legs, and he sent me an extra piece of chestnut in case I needed to make more parts, and it's a good thing because I did need to make another part, and that was a new connecting rod that goes from the drive wheel down to the foot treadle. And he also tried to match the color, and he sent me a envelope of dye powder that you mix with water. And I've put a link to it down in the description. It's not an affiliate link. It's Lockwood's number 79 dark brown walnut is the dye that was used on this. Mix it up with water and brush it on, wipe it down, use it just like you would a wood stain. And then on my buddy John Cousins' live stream a couple weeks back, yeah, it was last week. I went ahead and gave it 3 spit coats of clear shellac. Linda and I then decided that it needed a little bit more of a red tint to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand these down. Number one, I've got to hit them with a little bit of 320 to knock off all the roughness and what have you. Because when you use a water-based stain or a water-based dye, of course it's going to raise the grain. So that's been done. I need to go ahead and then now sand it. Then I'm going to mix up some Garnet shellac to try to give it a little bit more of a red tint. So, in fact, that's what I need to do now. I need to go ahead and get the shellac flakes ground down and mixed with denatured alcohol so they can dissolve a little bit. So I'm not waiting on that. If anybody would like to come on camera, join me here. Let me know. I'll shoot you a private message on Facebook, and you can come on with me. Read comments if it looks like I'm ignoring them or something like that. But I'm gonna switch over cameras right now. Go over here to the CNC, but I will keep checking for comments in the chat to see what y'all are talking about. But right now, let's switch over cameras. And I'll get over here, and I need to go ahead and grind up some shellac flakes using an old coffee grinder. Basically, it is recommended you grind up shellac flakes as small as you can. Give them as much of a chance as possible. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a extension cord. Alrighty. Make them as small as possible so they give them as much of a chance of dissolving as you can. So, plug in my coffee grinder here. And according to the mix ratio, I want a standard 3-pound cut, meaning the ratio is 3 pounds of shellac flakes to 1 gallon of denatured alcohol. Well, I don't have 3 pounds. I've got 8 ounces, and I want to make a pint. So I'll use 1 pint of denatured alcohol and 6 ounces of shellac flakes. So let me open up my scale here and calibrate. And go into Come on. There we go. Calibrate. That should be 50 grams. Okay. Now we're calibrated. Oops. Come on. Well, error. Okay, let's try this again. On. Come on, calibrate your scale, boy. Okay. There we go. Now we're calibrated. All right. Now I want to go into ounces. All right, we're all set. Let me open this up, throw in some flakes and grind it up. Let me go see if we have any other questions over here. Okay. Nope, nothing in the comments so far. Well, come on now. Helps if you open up your envelope. I need to get a bigger grinder. Faux show. All right. This is going to be boring as heck for you guys. All right. I've got to do this until I've got, what was it? 6 ounces. Okay, so let's see. Oh, there's one. Okay. Oh, come here, boy. I need a bigger grinder. That's all there is to it. Guess I could have done this yesterday. Yep. Working on it. Oh, man. So, what is everybody else working on? Three and a half. See what we got going here. Nope, no new comments. That's fine. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, demands for payment, let me know. If you have other ways of doing this kind of thing, let me know. I'm all ears. All right, we're at 3.5, 4.6. We almost there. This is an 8-ounce package, so I knew this was going to take a while. Didn't think it was going to take this long, though. 6 ounces. Little over. All right, let's not get super picky, Mark. There we go. All right. So, now unplug this and set it aside. Get out the old mason jar. And try to do this without making a humongous mess. And okay. Well, right up to the bottom of the band. All right, got it. Okay, so now I know. Yeah. And I'm using just standard denatured alcohol. Available at your local hardware store. Come on, fill in all those air bubbles. Use the woodworker's favorite stirring implement, good old-fashioned screwdriver. Now, all that's going to have to dissolve in this alcohol, and that's going to take a while, which is why I'm doing this now. I'm not even ready for this yet. Okay, now we've got enough alcohol in there. So now, nope, I'm going to wipe off the rim here. And this needs to shake. All right. So switch back the camera and come back and talk with y'all. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Linda's getting ready to weave on the table loom. Yeah. Steve, I agree. You really should videotape some of that, Linda. Even just a slideshow would be fascinating to watch. I agree. I wish I could get her more into doing that, Steve, but she's just not much for YouTube. And she doesn't want to learn to edit, none of that stuff. So, yeah, I don't blame her. I mean, what the heck? Okay, Brooks. Yeah, this is just one of those things. This is going to be kind of, like I said, a stream of consciousness thing. If you're welcome to pop in and out as much as you'd like, or as little as you like. If this ain't your kind of thing, that's fine. All right, I need to keep adding alcohol to it. Come on. There we go. Looks like coffee grounds. But it'll eventually all melt in, dissolve. Just takes a while. Steve says you should set up a camera on just the loom. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Said I wouldn't mind just videoing the weaving, but for most people it's pretty boring. Just a shuttle going back and forth. Yeah. But some of the fun, in fact, who am I kidding? Most of the fun is watching it come to life. You know what I mean? Watching the pattern form. So, let's see. Let me grab where'd I put? There I put it. Here I put it. Yes, this will become a liquid eventually. I should have gloves on. But what fun would that be? Grab another glove. This is why buying prepared shellac is so much better, but it's harder than heck to find prepared pre-mixed garnet shellac. Let's see. I may put that in a bigger container and then blitz it around. Do I have a bigger container? I think I took it in the house. Well, I've got this one. Nope, that's filthy. Not gonna do that. So I'll have to do this. That's okay. Takes it a while to dissolve, that's all. All right. Let's go ahead and let that sit a bit. It's not like Alka-Seltzer. It doesn't just immediately start dissolving. Close that up. All right. Let that sit for a while. While I get to sanding. All right. So, let's see here. John says 4th coat of clear done, 3 more to go. Now, yeah, 4th coat of clear done, 3 more to go. How many coats do you put on in, or excuse me, how long do you have to wait between each coat? And, you know, how many can you do in a day? Because I know that takes a while. Boy, sanding these turnings are kind of strange. Yeah, there we go. And all I'm doing is knocking off the little nibs that keep me from having a nice smooth finish. Because as I said, it's a water-based dye, water-based stain, and it will raise the grain. So, yeah, to get that sanded smooth. Then after this, there shouldn't be any more raised grain because all of this is alcohol based and alcohol will not raise the grain. So I guess I could have mixed the dye with alcohol, which would have been a lot easier. But what fun would that be? Need to raise it anyway so it doesn't raise later on. Okay, John says he can wait a half hour today because it's cool, but usually only 15 minutes between coats. Okay. And then after that, do you wait then cut and buff, or do you um, have to let it sit and then cut and buff, or do you even bother with that? See, I don't know what you're spraying or anything like that, and I'm not a car finisher, believe me, in any way. So. So basically, you just let it flash over and then spray your next coat. Okay. Yeah, I know that our finisher in the last cabinet shop I worked at, um, he could do several coats in a day, but we were using um, a vinyl sanding sealer, which dried real fast, and then a catalyzed varnish that was made to flash over real fast, but then it took about 3 days to fully cure. So it's just about done, and I'll be able to, this one will be ready. Here's hoping my shellac will be ready in time. Otherwise, this will be a real short live stream. I kind of got this idea for this live stream from my buddy John Cousins. Did I put my, yes, I did put my, and that's all sitting on it. Can't do that now. All right, white Scotch-Brite. I kind of got the idea for this live stream from my buddy John Cousins. He likes to, he live streams almost every day. And he'll get on, it'll be a 5, 6, 7 hour live stream. And anybody that wants to join in can join in. or just sit out in the chat and BS. And I figured I'd give that a shot. But since this is not a CNC project, figured I'd do it over here on this channel and just see what happens. Okay, John says he lets it sit for a week, then cut and buff. Okay. All right. Spraying a urethane base coat, clear coat. All right. All right. Now, is the hard top going to be the same color as the body? Or are you going with a two-tone or what? I mean, classic vet, you know. Okay, I think this leg is ready for toning. Notice a little brass hook. I'm using that to hang it after it's been after I've applied the shellac to it. Okay, let me go blow this off. Then we'll be set. Okay, that one is ready. Now on to this one. Okay, let's see here. Linda and Steve having a discussion. Say, yep, seeing the pattern form in a time lapse would be amazing. And she said, I do like watching the pattern develop, but it takes a while. And I agree. Doing it via time lapse is the way to go. But yeah, you can take 4 hours of weaving and condense that down, and it looks like that pattern is just magic, you know. And in many ways, it is. I still don't get how that just lifting certain strings and leaving other strings, I say strings, threads, yarns, whatever you want to call them, how lifting some up and leaving some down and then passing another string underneath it. I still can't wrap my head around how that forms that pattern, but it's cooler than heck to watch. So, and she has done some pretty awesome patterns. So, let's see. The top is the color of the coves. It's a gray metallic. Okay, and the body is white. All right, cool. Cool. That's going to look awesome, man. Linda says it's not the filming, it's the editing. I don't want to do it, and it takes time from Mark doing his work. Well, yeah, there's some truth to that. I can do some, but I can't do all, you know. We're just so busy in the background. I mean, doing things like this. This is why I'm not working on the CNC today. And I've got 2 projects lined up ready to go. I just need to get these done so I can get them out of the shop so they don't get damaged. And this is all a part of it, you know. It just takes time. So, okay. So I'm using 320 grit and a white Scotch-Brite. The white Scotch-Brite gets into all the little areas that I can't get to with the 320 grit. And just, like I said, knocking the gloss off and smoothing out any of the raised grain and any of the dust particles that stuck something like that. Just kind of smooth it all down. So getting into all these turnings can be a task. That's where the Scotch-Brite comes in. It's so much more flexible. Nice and smooth. Get that high spot there, and then back in here in this turning. All right. I'm with you, Steve. Most people don't know how it happens, and you never know. Someday that might be info we need. Yeah, I agree. That's why in your zombie posse, your home group, should the zombie apocalypse comes, there should be several knitters, spinners, and weavers because everybody needs clothes. It gets cold in the wintertime. We ain't talking fashion here. We're talking survival. So, I mean, in the case of Linda and I, we may starve, but we'll be warm. Nah, we can grow food and hunt, fish, do all that stuff. John's asking, do you use a tack rag to remove the sanding dust? Not when I'm using shellac. I blow it off with an air hose to get rid of any grit or what have you. But one of the great things, and I was going to talk about this later, but thanks for bringing it up now. One of the great things with working with shellac is if there is any shellac dust left on the piece, the denatured alcohol will remelt it and it'll just become part of the next layer of finish. So it'll just melt right in and blend right in and you won't even notice it. It's not going to leave dust. Now, if I'm doing a urethane finish or a varnish or something like that, yeah, I do. I blow it off with the air hose, then I'll wipe it down with a tack rag. But I have a love-hate relationship with tack rags. You got to be careful with them because if you press down too firmly, the sticky resins in a tack rag can transfer over to the wood. Then you've got a real mess on your hand. So that's one of the reasons why I like shellac so much. It's so forgiving. Unless you're French polishing, that's not forgiving. So, and no, I'm not French polishing this. That would be a nightmare. In fact, doing this with 320 is a little bit of overkill. I could just as easily do this with 220, but I don't want to remove much, if any, of the shellac. I'm just trying to smooth it out and give it some tooth for the garnet to shellac to stick to. But even then, it's going to melt into a little bit of the top coat of shellac that's already on here. Top coats, I should say. It's going to melt into them and become a part of that. So, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay, this piece is ready. Let me blow this off now. I think I popped the breaker on the compressor because I don't hear it coming on. There you go. Let me take a look here and see. Move the camera just slightly. Yep, I did. Pop the breaker. All right, loud noise. Okay, compressor came on. Hope you guys can't hear that. That's the first time I popped the breaker. All right, let's see here. Linda says, yep, we will survive. We're just getting too old to care. Yeah, really. Steve says, me too, Linda, but it's that type of info I have on my survival site. How to do things a lot of people tend to never bother to learn just in case the power goes out. Yep. John says, nice not having the compressor and dust collector noise in the shop. Oh, no doubt. I don't know if you can hear the compressor or not, but it's running right now. And I'm going to have to check that breaker because there was, oh, the heater is plugged in. That's why. Let me shut off the heater. Yeah, we have hit, I won't say winter time, but we have hit autumn for sure. All right. And it is cooled down quite a bit. All right. Let's open her up here and see what we got. Yeah, right. You shellacked it shut, boy. Let me have to get out my vice grips or my channel locks. All right, there's a good start. Put your gloves on, dummy, so you don't glue yourself to the jar. I got one more piece to sand, which is going to be a piece of cake, really, because it's nice and flat. There we go. There we go. A little bit more sludge on the bottom, but that's just fine. That's dissolving nice. And that's a 3-pound cut of Garnet shellac. And that's going to help give us a little bit more of a red tint to this. It may not be visible on camera. We'll see. And yes, these are de-waxed shellac flakes. So oh yeah, there we go. By the time that's, oh yeah, there we go. Very few solids left. By the time I got this last piece sanded, it'll be ready to use. I'll have to rig me up a string over here to hang these up on. So last piece, and this is the, whoops, I thought I had the other camera on. Ruh-roh. Okay, this is the last piece, and this is the new connecting rod I had to make for it. It's got a little hole down here, a leather strap, a leather thong goes through here and attaches and ties onto that treadle right down here at this end. It ties in between these two turnings, right in there. And the other one was bent and twisted, so I went ahead and made a new one. Dave Kraus wants to know, what wood are the wheels made from? This one is made from chestnut, and I had never worked chestnut before. And again, it's chestnut. Do I have a scrap of chestnut out here? I think I took it back in the house. Well, here are the ends. Um, Chestnut it's a strange wood. It looks a lot like oak, but it is super, super light. I don't know if that's going to focus in or not. It should. Is that focusing in? There we go. It looks a lot like oak. It's got a nice open grain, but it weighs probably 1/3 of what oak weighs. It carves like oak. It cuts like oak. Uh, but it's super light. It's deceptively light. And I had never worked with it before. Well, Dan back there in Massachusetts, he does. I'll just say it. He does museum quality restorations and museum quality replicas of antique beds. I mean, way back into 1700s, 1600s, the 1700s, the Federal period, all of that. He's done. I mean, he's just a master, and that's all there is to it. And getting chestnut commercially, American chestnut, is just not possible anymore. So, being back in Massachusetts, there were a lot of old buildings that were made out of chestnut. That he has a few suppliers and a few sources for chestnut out of buildings that are being torn down or renovated or something like that. They go to pull out a floor joists or something, and maybe the ends have rotted away, but the center is still good. They can still use that center. And he sent me a couple of pieces of it, just in case I had to make more parts. And thankfully so, because here's one part I needed to make. And I still don't know. I may need to make others, but we'll find out. So this is turning out nice. Yeah, I got a little bit happy with the shellac up at this end. A little bit of a dribble. There we go. That took it. All right. Just knocking the gloss off of these. Then get in there and set me up a string to hang these and tint them up with some garnet shellac. This was just a little bit too brown, but okay, you can't hear the compressor. Good, good. But I had only sent Dan the 2 broken legs for him to copy because I wasn't sure if one leg was longer than the other or not. And he matched the stain to those 2 legs. And you can tell that they're slightly different color than some of the other parts. They need a little bit more red to them. But that's one of the weird things about working on this old stuff is you start noticing the wear patterns on them, where people have held on to it, where they've touched it, and where they grabbed hold to move it or things like that. And those areas are much, much darker than the rest of it. But overall, in general, I'm liking working with chestnut. It cuts well. It machines very well. So far, it seems to take a finish very nicely. I haven't had any issues with it. It's just made out of unobtainium. You just can't get it. The American chestnut tree is, for commercial purposes, it's extinct. I mean, there are some specimen trees around, but there was some sort of I don't remember if it was a fungus or some pathogen that came in, and it just decimated all the chestnut. It wasn't over harvested or anything like that, because it was one of those trees, kind of sort of like poplars and cottonwoods. They just grow everywhere. But there was some sort of disease they ended up getting that just killed them off. The last commercial stand, I think, died in the 1920s, something like that. So, yes, absolutely, John. Skin oils and dirt will darken a finish. Oh, big time. Big time. Soak will heat, like sitting in front of the fireplace, or the parts of the wheel closest to the fireplace will be a lot darker than everything else. So, wipe that down and blow it off. Basically, the main reason I'm using the air hose is the grain is open like oak, and it'll fill up with dust from sanding, just like oak will. Then you're kind of hosed. Another problem with chestnut is it's very, very susceptible to worm damage. And like on this piece, and this was a brand new piece that Dan sent me. You can see the wormholes in it. You can see the worm trails, and then up in here and up in there. That's all worm damage. I don't know if you can't really see the hole. No, you can't see the holes. But yeah, they'll get in there and they will chew the bejeebers out of it. That's why it's important to go ahead and finish with a good film finish. And shellac is one of the better ones, and it's period correct. Now, I'm not trying to make this a perfect restoration. These legs and this crank are not going to match 100%, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. So let me get all this stuff cleared away, and I can turn on the other camera, glove up, and then we can start applying some finish. Okay, first thing I'm going to need to do is go over here and cheat. I'm going to move my sander, and I'm going to tie a string onto my CNC router. Use this as a clothesline to hang up my stuff. Pull that back, spin that caster around and lock it. Now that ain't going nowhere. Now, get me a brush, glove up, and we'll get to adding some tint. I buy these little 1-inch wide foam brushes in packs of 100, because for stuff like this, absolutely perfect. And they're disposable. All right, let's get the other glove on. And where did I put? There I put it, right there. Excuse me. All right. Well, now you know why my CNC router always looks like a mess, why the top of it looks crummy. It's because it's also a very good workbench top. With that in mind, let me put up a auxiliary table here so I don't make a complete mess out of this. There we go. All right, let's start with the easiest piece. Technically, this piece is called a footman in that it connects the foot treadle to the wheel. Oh yeah. That adds a much redder tint to it. There we go. Much nicer. Now I'm getting a lot of air bubbles, and I knew that I would, but that's okay, because I'll be going back, sanding, and adding successive coats. The last one will be put on with a little pad. Probably won't do that on this live stream. Oops, that's already looking much redder. I don't even know if you can tell. Probably nothing but glare off of the lights. But that's already much, much redder. Now, I know you can't see that. Oh, look at the air bubbles. It's all right. It'll get sanded out. So nice. I do like working with shellac. I think it's a highly underrated finish. All right. Okay, now stop messing about with it. Excuse me. And hang that to dry. Another great thing about shellac is it dries very quickly. All right, now the fun ones. I'll start up here on the top. Oh yeah, completely different. I probably could have done a spit coat with this, but what fun would that be? Much nicer. This is not a finish coat. This is just a tint coat. The finish coat will be several thin layers of clear shellac, same as the rest of the wheel. All right. Looking so much better. So much nicer. I mentioned it a couple minutes ago for those wondering what a spit coat is. Uh, Basically, take a normal 3-pound cut shellac, and then there's a couple different types, depends on the situation. Can either go 4 parts denatured alcohol to 1 part 3-pound cut prepared shellac, or 3 parts denatured alcohol to 1 part prepared shellac. And it doesn't have to be clear. It can be amber, it can be garnet, it can be whatever. So uh, basically, all it's kind of a sealer coat. If you have ever purchased Bullseye seal coat, that's what it is. It's basically a spit coat. It's the same thing. Okay, let's not get any buildup in the. There we go. Okay. So if you've ever used seal coat sanding sealer, that's what it is. And you can make your own. Like I say, it just depends on what you're going for. You can either use 3 parts denatured alcohol to 1 part shellac, or 4 parts denatured alcohol to 1 part shellac. Just depends on how thin you want to make it. Linda's first spinning wheel she ever got was a Kromsky Symphony spinning wheel, made in Poland. Very, very nice wheel. And it came as an unfinished kit. I've told this story before. Being the wood guy of the family, guess who had to finish it and put it together, which is cool. But that's where I learned to appreciate what goes into these and how they're made, was working on that wheel. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. All right, let me hang this one up. Well, when I finished it, it was made out of maple, birch, and alder. Just most of it was made out of maple, but some parts were made out of birch and some were made out of alder. And she decided she wanted a nice uniform finish. So I mixed up a spit coat of amber shellac and did every part in that amber shellac. And then sprayed it with polyurethane. Now, right there, I just made a bunch of people mad. You can't put polyurethane over shellac. Yes, you can. Every hardwood floor installer who's ever finished floors has been doing that. Well, not every, but most every. Since polyurethane was invented, what you have to do is make sure you're using de-waxed shellac. And I can tell you straight up, the reason people are told not to use polyurethane over shellac is because it's easier for the paint company, for the finish company, to cover their butts by telling you not to do it than it is to try to help you fix it. So it's a case of don't do it. But yes, you can. It's been done for decades. They just tell you don't do it because they don't want to try to help you fix your mistakes. Because you know how it is, guys don't pay attention. We don't read directions, we don't follow instructions. They don't know what they're talking about. I've been doing this for however long, and this is how I've always done it. No, you haven't. So, and these are 100% de-waxed shellac flakes that I made this up with. And again, yes, I'm aware there are a lot of air bubbles, but that's okay. I will be going back, sanding, and then applying the next coats with an applicator pad that I'll make up out of old T-shirts and cotton batting, cotton wadding. So, but this is just to change the tone of the wood from dark brown, pretty drab dark brown, I might add. Give it kind of a red tint. And working very well. Okay. Take any little dribbles I might have made. That's looking good. That's looking good. Now I can hang this to dry for a few hours. Probably tomorrow I'll come out and do my successive coats. So, seal this up. One of the great things I like about using these little disposable foam brushes is when I'm done with it, break off the brush part, that goes in the trash, and now I got a dowel to use. And I do use them. One of the things I use them for instance, is I made an 1/8 inch reamer with a fairly dull drill bit, but it's sharp enough to help me ream holes, and I can take a stone to it and sharpen it, touch it up as is. But every once in a while, I need to get in there and ream out a hole or clean up an area, and these dowels make short work of that. Just drill a hole and epoxy the bit into it, and off you go. All right, so there's that. Leave that off to the side. I'll come back over here and switch camera. And there we go. Let's see here. Steve says even the camera picks up some of that red tint. Does it? Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't know how well that would come out, how well that would translate. But yeah, it's a lot more red than it was. It almost looked like I took some RIT dye and mixed it up and just kind of hit it with a 4-inch wide barn brush, you know. That brown did a very good job. I mean, it's a good base color, but it did need more layers on it. I am not a finisher by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't claim to be. So, but I have learned enough and picked up enough to learn that finishing, generally speaking, isn't just one layer. You know, we used to do in the mill workshop I worked at down in Carson City, Nevada. We did a lot of work for casinos, building displays and uh, special stands and all the furniture around the front desk of the hotel and the furniture in the rooms and this, that, and the other. And there were a few casinos that liked a little bit of a metallic flair to their all of their woodwork. And this one display we did, it was standard birch plywood, cabinet grade plywood, with a clear vinyl sanding sealer over it, then a medium mahogany gel stain over that, then a sanding sealer over that. Then we went back with a metallic blue glaze, and it's just like staining. We rub the glaze on, let it sit for about 10-15 minutes, come back and rub it off, wax on, wax off, then start clear coating over that. And it was one of those subtle effects that you looked at it, and as you were moving past it, the light would catch that metallic shimmer, and you knew something was different, but you couldn't put your finger on it. And it was just that tonal range, that mahogany, reddish mahogany color with that blue metallic. It didn't look blue at all. It looked like that mahogany, but it had that shimmer to it that just went, wow, wait a minute, that's cool. How'd they do that? You know? And that's where I started picking up little things. But again, I'm not a finisher. I don't have that eye for color. So, okay, let's see. So I'm more or less at work stoppage now. I got to let that dry. I don't think there's anything else I can do on this right now. I'm just going to be waiting for this to dry. Then I can start going with the clear shellac over the top of it. So I'll just say, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that I've been doing out here? Like I said, this was more or less just a stream of consciousness, making it up as I go along, you know. But if there are no questions or anything, I'll go ahead and end this, go inside, get me something to eat, and just wait for this to dry so I can, let's see, how much redder is each coat going to change the color? I may or may not put another coat of red on this. I haven't decided yet. If I do, I'll mix up a spit coat. I've made up a 3-pound cut, which is basically 3 pounds of shellac flakes in 1 gallon of water, denatured alcohol. I may make another spit coat and apply it after I sand, but what it looks like after I sand is going to decide that. So I may do another coat. And how much redder is it going to get? It's already very dark. It's not going to get much redder than it is now. But if I happen to sand through or uh, do any chip it or hit it against something, I may have to come back and do that, uh, apply it there. But so the jury's still out. I may or may not put on some more uh, garnet shellac. Uh, Steve is asking, you were finishing any of the other parts? I'm doing a touch up, which I have already done. I've touched up the treadle along this edge and some insect damage here and here. As you can see, those worms have eaten a lot of this. And I mean, there are no live active worms in here now, but I will be touching these up a little bit with the garnet, but not much at all. You can see the color of that treadle, how dark that is. That's from just years and years of people's feet being on it. But other than that, nothing else is getting stripped or refinished or having any finish applied to it. I'm just going to be using, and I've already asked Linda about this, and she has already said she doesn't want me to clean it. She doesn't want me to strip it. She wants all the patina on it. I may or may not be putting some Howard's Feed and wax on it. I don't know yet. That's going to depend on what Linda wants. And she'll want to see this all put together before we decide on that. So, yeah, you can really see the wear, John. Uh, it was more or less flat, this piece here. I mean, it may have had a little bit of contouring along the edges, but most of this is just flat, simply put, wear. And you can really tell that right here. I mean, that was round, and you can see where that's worn down. You know, that might be resting another foot on that treadle, or it may just be that's where the foot went as they were treadling it. I tend to kind of think that because you can see how worn down that is. But something this old, it's all wooden pegs with a few exceptions. There are some old repairs to this. You can see a nail right here, and it came through the back of this arm here, and it shouldn't have. So somebody did repair it at one time, but that's part of the history of the piece. So, that'll stay. I'm not going to mess with that at all. But so that's the only other piece I'm working on. All the rest are just getting pretty much wiped down, dusted off, cleaned up, and then it'll go back together. And you can bet I'll be posting pictures of it when I get it done. So, all righty. Well, if there's no more questions, no more comments or anything like that, let me just say thank you for making this experience and this experiment work. I don't do a lot over here on this channel, be honest with you. Half the time I forget that I have it. So, it's it doesn't get a lot of attention. It doesn't get a lot of love. So, thanks very much for hanging with me for a while and making this not quite such a boring, lonely thing sitting out here. And maybe I'll do it more often if anybody is interested. And maybe I'll get one of you guys to pop in and help me read comments while I'm over doing something else. So I put links to most everything in the description if you want to see what I used. If it doesn't interest you that much, terrific. But Linda says, it will not be a daily spinner. I will spin on it to make sure it works correctly, and I'll have Mark film it. Okay, we'll do it. We'll do that, and I'll put that up as on this channel as an addendum. So, alrighty. Thanks everyone. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who watch me on the CNC side of things, I will see you Sunday for another open Q&A. This is one of the projects I got to get out of here so I can get back to CNC work. And now you see why. I got wet finish. I can't go cutting. So, see you Sunday, and y'all take care. Thank you very much.